And I'm Marilyn Agnew. I work with McDougall United Church as a witness towards reconciliation. I'm into about my third year of learning, studying, participating in events, and attending conferences, university classes, and the like. I'm pleased to introduce to you today Gloria Snow from the Stoney Nakoda Nation. She is the daughter of Reverend Dr. Chief John Snow and Alva Snow. Tell us about your dad.
My father, I can recollect, he was a residential school survivor in the Morley residential school. My mother is from the U.S., and she and my father met many years later after he had left the residential school. See, the schooling that he got was to be of a laborer, to be of a help. And so when he became educated later on, he had to go for his GED, he had to go for higher education, and if he did that in Canada, he would have lost his status. And so he left and was given direction by the minister at the time at Morley to travel all the way to Phoenix, Arizona. And so he undertook his studies at Charles Cook Theological School, and that's where he met my mother. And so my mother was an accomplished pianist, and she was studying in the Bible college as well. And so when they met and then they married, they came north, first at Fort Yuma, Fort McDougall. So they served in the first parishes of my mother's people in Arizona. And my brother John was actually born in Arizona. And so then from when they came up north, they then served in St. Luda, Wolseley area, and carried the kettle. So my sister Rachel was born in St. Luda, Saskatchewan. And then my two older brothers, they had a charge up in Saddle Lake in Goodfish. So both Peter and Tony were born there. And then the three younger of us children, myself, my brother William, and my sister Teresa, who is the baby of the family, were all born at Morley. And my dad presided over the Morley United Church. He being the first ordained Indigenous minister in St. Stephen's College in 1963.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your mom was a Sunday school teacher.
Yes. My mother was a Sunday school teacher, a musician, the backbone of our society. She would help my father in all aspects of church life, and she was very instrumental in bringing Christian concepts to the reserve. In the early 60s when they came, my mother and father had a wedding. So my auntie came all the way from Arizona, presented them a car for their first gift. But my mother made sure that successive women that came through and were married in Morley made sure they had a Christian type wedding, like a big to-do with the dress and everything. And so that was her way of putting a stamp on being in the traditional Christian tradition, but also being a mother and a help in the community.
So three of you are following in your dad's footsteps.
Yes.
As well as Ken, your husband.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about some of the accomplishments, and how would your dad have felt about?
I think my dad would have been really proud. I think my dad, his legacy was that his dad, my grandpa, instilled in them a Christian ideology. I can remember my auntie relating a story of how my grandpa would get all the family together on a Sunday and would read from the Bible and would also do traditional activities. So they would be attending the Sundance, they would be doing the prayers for that. So they did both. And so he actually instilled in the children, my father's siblings and himself, that they were destined to be in the church or to be holy. So that meant the traditional spirituality and the Christian way. So when my father came through, it was like his father was already a minister, a lay minister. So the onus was upon us as children to be Christian and to be traditional, to live a holy life.
Can I go back a little bit
Yep.
into you as a young woman and the
Yes.
accomplishments that you personally had as, and we're going to show a picture
Yes.
of you in your regalia. And if you think back and think of the picture, tell us about that story.
I'm in my red regalia. So my father has a chief's outfit with the blues and the reds and the yellow, and my outfit was designed by my father, using the same colors but in reverse. So I'm very proud of that outfit. I remember when we first unveiled, I was competing at a powwow in Regina, and I took first place as a woman's traditional dancer. And then shortly after that, I was approached by a scout. And I never knew anything about this, but there was a contest, a princess pageant contest, which was the Miss Indian World contest. And so I had had other titles, Miss Nakota in '85. I had had Miss Calgary Stampede and Village Princess in, or '88, '89 during the Olympics. And so I was ambassador in that terms as a princess. And then when I ran for Miss Indian World, I represented all of the Indigenous worldwide.
Did you?
I was beholden to uphold the best of being a Nakota and a Yuma woman. So the year that I did travel, I had giveaways.
Did you?
So I would raise funds at the powwow, and I would go give it to the daycare and to the elders' lodges in every community that I went to. And that was my legacy of giving back.
Today is National Indigenous Peoples Day in Canada. We celebrate and remember, and we never forget the important achievements of Indigenous people. What would your dad have given you for advice for the world today, for you, for Tony, for John, as you move forward in this time of upheaval?
First, I think my dad would address people in terms of the Indigenous National Day of Prayer. It was a very long-standing legacy that the Indian Ecumenical Conference was a think tank, an Indigenous renaissance for many nations that came together, many clergy, many medicine people, many statespeople, and traditional people that gathered at Morley. So when they all got together to decide this National Indigenous Day of Prayer, I think that's a legacy my father wanted carried on. And so that when that amalgamated into the now Aboriginal Peoples Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, it's a day of celebration. But it's also a day of remembering. It's also a day of lament, of how hard we have fought to come through and overcome our history, the atrocities, the abuses, and to still be resilient, still be celebrating, still say that we are here. So I think my father would be proud that we're in ministry.
Absolutely.
And that we're carrying the Bible and the pipe together.
Yes, you are. And I would like to just make mention that your father has written a wonderful book.
Yes.
Some say should actually be in the Bible. It's that important.
I don't know if I go that far, but
Well,
my father's book is
important.
an Alberta classic. It's one of the top 3 books, and it was awarded this in 2005. And it is a first-year multicultural reader at the University of Calgary. We also have an award in the Reverend Dr. John Snow Award in the University of Calgary for an up-and-coming student. And so that a Native student or Métis student or a student of Indigenous descent would vie for that as an award, and our family would present every year that award. So it's a very important legacy that my father's book was an Indigenous author writing about Indigenous history from the perspective of Stoney Nakoda. And in the early 70s, he couldn't get it published. It wasn't until 1977 he was published by Samuel and Son in Toronto.
And it's still available.
And it's still
Yes, it
available.
is.
It's now been republished by Fifth House here in Calgary, and so it's available on Amazon. And it's
Thank
called These Mountains Are Sacred Places.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Gloria Snow.